Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. It is Tuesday the 10th of September, and today we will start to have a look at the Intel company that has been troubled for quite some time. It now seems to be trading in this range. Last week it tried to break bullish out of it. It closed just above the resistance here at 22, but it failed and then got hammered back down, and now it's testing the lower part of this range here. And as you can see, we are actually back to 2012 lows and could drop to August 2010 lows, maybe even lower. We are currently here on the RSI in a negative sentiment. There is a little bit of divergence, however, but as we can see, we are also below the rising trend line there. So there is a risk to the downside to this August 2010 low at 1767. But again, it needs to close back above 22 and a change. 22.12 for upside potential of any kind. Moving on to the indices, we have the S&P500 that is currently it is back in this gap area range here, back above 5,455, and the RSI actually also bounced back above back from the 40. It didn't close below it yesterday, so there is a little bit of hope for the bulls here. I could say if we get back above 5,500, well, then there could be some potential higher, and especially if RSI gets back above 60 threshold, then expect a move higher. But if it closes back below 54, 55, then I think selling pressure will resume, and at the moment we are slightly lower pre-market. Nasdaq 100 closed just around the now resistance here at 18,655, just a few cents above actually, but the RSI actually is now in a negative sentiment, so I think we will push lower in the coming weeks. We can also see if the 55 moving average tilting over here, and we are below the 100. We could be in this range here around 18,500 for some time, and it looks fairly depressed. Moving on to the EUROSTOXX 50, that also bounced a bit yesterday, as we can see here. Let's zoom in a little bit. We have bouncing from the 50% of this uptrend here at 47.30, but you can see RSI also in a negative sentiment. You also have to remember one thing: despite the fact that RSI is sometimes in a negative sentiment, you have to remember that stocks or equities are underlying biased bullish, because most people or investors can only go long or either not be invested. It's very few that can actually short the market. So there's a different energy compared to the Forex market, for example. Anyway, if it moves back above 48.12, then I think we'll see a push towards the 4900. I don't think we'll get it back above there, but if it starts sliding lower again and takes out the lows here from the 6th of September at 47.32, then expect a push lower towards 4700, 46.50. So we are a little bit at a crossroad at the moment, but because we're in this correction phase. The DAX index also a bounce yesterday, and that was across the board really. We can see here it's still above 18,236 and 18,183. That is key for DAX to keep itself above that. Then I think it will crawl a little bit higher here in the coming days. And the Amsterdam index also, that has been really under pressure, but it didn't get all the way down to 873, but it is under pressure, and that will be a struggle to get back above 907. That will be key for any return to bullish move. We are in a negative sentiment. I think we will slide lower in the coming weeks. The CAC index Well, they actually did close the other day below 73.70, now trying to get back up here, but again 74.64 is kind of the pivot for bull and bearish, and currently we are in a bearish mode, so to speak. We need to get back above this level here, 74.64 for upside. If we're moving back below 73.70, expect a sell-off below 7,300. And finally, on the Swiss market, when we're talking equities, it needs to get back about 12,000 for any meaningful bounce. That could take it higher below 12,100, 200, where we have a little bit of resistance. We also have the 55 coming down there, so we could be tucked in between these levels here around 11.9 and 12,000 for a little while. A negative sentiment, and as we can see, it's not by much. But if it takes out the low there at 11,908, expect a sell-off down to around 11,750, 770 level. Moving on to the Forex market and euro dollar, it is currently testing the previous little low here at 110.26. If it takes out that, and then I think we will see a dip down to 109.50, 109.40 level, where we have some support at the 61.8 retracement level, and that came after being rejected here just below the 786 retracement. And let's just remove it for now, then we can have a more clear view. So that will be key for euro dollar. And if we just add a trend line, or a horizontal trend line there, 110.26, let's say 110.25. If it takes out that, then expect a push lower for euro dollar. The correction will be lower. The euro sterling, it seems to turn around, couldn't really get up higher here, and we could see a retest of the 84 level. The RSI is currently trying to, testing the 40 threshold, and if it closes back below, expect a push lower, and then I think we could also take out the 84 support there, and that could be a little bit critical for euro sterling for a move lower towards 83 and a quarter, and around that level. Cable or sterling dollar, I'm just spoiled from when I started in the FX world. Cable is just dancing around 130.45, 130.35, around this level here, where we have a little bit of support. We are in a correction mode, and it needs to take out the peak there at 132.40 to resume bullish trend, which I think it will, because if we're looking at the weekly chart, we can see that it is in this bullish trend on the medium term. So that is what one should remember. We are on a bullish trend medium term. You see weekly chart, higher highs, higher lows, took out the resistance there, and RSI also in a bullish trend with now no divergence, indicating we could move higher on cable in the medium term at least. Moving on to dollar yen, well, very close to test the lows here from August, and then it's bouncing from the falling trend line here that it actually broke down, and now it's testing from the upper side. We have now divergence on the RSI, and let's just move that one so we can indicate that right there. So we can see the RSI values are rising, whereas the price itself actually did decline, and it is forming like a wedge-like pattern there, and I want to see a breakout from that for any direction. But for now, we are still in a bearish trend with potential down to around 140 and a quarter. Euro yen is currently dancing just above the little support here at 157.30, which is just below the 61.8 retracement. I will actually remove it because I think it's obsolete now. So that is the key level to look out for. If it starts taking out that, well, then we can see a push down towards 155. Otherwise, we could see a little bit of bounce, but it's key that it gets back above 160. Aussie yen, a little bit different story, so to speak. Still above the 93.65 support here, just around the 50%, but we are in a bearish trend, and little bit of a bounce, and it really needs to get back above 97.30 for upside potential. Then we'll probably be caught in this range here, but still we are in a bearish trend, and there's no divergence on the RSI, which is in a negative sentiment at the moment. Sterling yen trying to get back above 180.20, oh sorry, 188.20, but that will just be a minor correction. Key will be at 189.50. If we can get back up that, well, then we could be looking at 192 again. We are in a bearish trend here, and there's no divergence on the RSI, and it's still showing negative sentiment. So if it takes out the lows from yesterday at 186.33, well, then expect lower levels on sterling again towards the 183 at 2025 level. We have Aussie dollar testing 66.43 support around this level. We also have the 100 moving average coming up, so that will be key. If it does close below, well, then you also should pay attention to the RSI. Will it close below 40? If it does, then we could see a larger correction or larger sell-off down to around below 66, actually 65, 60, 65, 70, around that level. Dollar Canada, it is again the pivot point around 135.90. That should be observed. We are being very close to. We also have the 200 moving average, kind of putting a lid on here. Negative sentiment on the RSI, but if it does break above, then we could see and I think a break is enough. They don't have to close above, but then there could be a push up to a 136.35 level. The Swiss franc has been fairly quiet of the past 24 hours, well, actually the past couple of days. Really, we are in a negative trend, a bearish trend here on Euro Swiss. 93, I still believe we could reach that. As you can see, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. No divergence on the RSI, broken below its rising trend line. Below 40, i.e. we are in a negative sentiment. We should get at least down to around, maybe even dipping below 93 level. On the dollar Swiss, also pushing a little bit lower, but has been bounced the past 24 hours. And is it forming a little bit like a double bottom here? It's a question. If it does close above 85.37, I would add a little bit and say 85.40. If it does close above, well, then expect a push up towards maybe not all the way up to 87.30, but in this region around, possibly around 86.75 is. If it starts moving low below 84 again, then expect lower levels on dollar Swiss. Dollar index could also be forming a double bottom. As you can see here, we have a bottom here and a bottom here that are almost equal lows. If it takes out 101.86, well, then expect a push up to 102.25, 102.5, maybe all the way up to 102.70. But for now, we are still in a bearish trend. There's no divergence on the RSI, so we could push lower, but keep an eye on this level here for any bullish breakup. Gold is still trading in this range here between 25.32 and 24.70. That should be observed. Breakout will be from that. Bullish breakout, expect 2600. Push bearish breakout, we will test the lower rising trend line, maybe even the 21 here, which is the 61.8 of this uptrend right there. So keep an eye on this range trading behavior there. That will be key here in the coming days and weeks. Silver still holding on for the third time, four times actually. Yesterday also 27.70. That will be key to watch out for. If it does break below, you don't need a close below here. If it does break below, well, then a push below 27 is in the cards, and it needs to get back above 29.20 for a push towards 30, and then 30 spot 20 will come under pressure to the upside, and then maybe we can establish a bullish trend. On copper, that has been on this also depressed a little bit, but it's still holding on at 404.25, and that will be key. If it takes out that expected push below 400 to 390 area, and it needs to get back above 432 for a bullish push higher. And then let's just to recap on the WTI, the crude oils. As we can see here, it has broken, as we talked about over the past weeks, that it was forming this here triangle-like pattern on weekly charts. testing the 67.70 key support around these levels here, dip below, a little bit below, but we are in a bearish trend and could push lower to 64.62 area, possibly a little bit lower, but there are some strong supports down there. The same picture on Brent crude, obviously just above the $70. Some support here around 69.90. If it takes out that, well, then there is a risk lower. And finally, on the US 10-year Treasury yields, as you can see here, the Treasury yields actually bounced from the previous. It's dipped a little bit below here, the previous low, but it's now still above the 365. If it takes out the low there from the 6 from Friday at C363, well, then we could see a sell-off down to sell-off its yields, but down to 355. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and happy trading.